Hi everyone, I'm Lynn Berry from 5000 Poppies, and today we're going to do a YouTube video on how to make stemmed poppies for Chelsea Flower Show next year. So this is what we're going to end up with, this beautiful poppy on a stem. So we have all sorts of different poppies and all sorts of different colours. So this is a fluted knitted poppy, this is a really lovely crocheted poppy, all different centres. This is another type of crocheted poppy. And here's one that somebody's knitted, which really looks lovely with a gorgeous centre. So the thing about these poppies is they actually need to be made quite tightly. So we're looking for a finish that's tight so it doesn't flop down if it rains. We want to make sure that when they get rained on, because we know they will, they're going to be in London, when they get rained on, they don't flop down, that they can sort of sit up on their own. So that's what we end up with, a really nice bunch of all different colours, all different centres and different shapes. So we're making 20,000 of these and we're taking them to the Chelsea Flower Show next year. So to make them, what we're doing is we're using an I-cord maker, and what that does is it makes this really wonderful tubular fabric, and we're covering these bamboo sticks and making the stems for the poppies. It's really quite a simple process. Every I-cord maker is different, and I suggest that if you have an I-cord maker and you don't know how to use it, there's plenty of videos on YouTube that you can actually go and have a look at, and that will teach you how to use them. Just a couple of tips: when you're making the I-cord, make sure that you keep the weight, this is a weight, on the end so that it pulls the tube down as you're making, otherwise it'll just jam up the needles on the top. So very simple process. Make sure that this is loose, and what you're doing is you're winding your I-cord maker on. This is the easiest and the best way to make them. In the end you end up with this fabric, and what we're doing is we're cutting that to lengths of 23 centimetres. These sticks are 25 centimetres. We don't want them to go the whole length of the stick. So we've got 23 centimetres and we're cutting it to a length, and that's what you end up with. Then we're just teasing out the ends, so getting all the little bits of fluff out, and then we're pulling out the end of it to about 10 centimetres or so on both ends. That just gives you some yarn to sew in your ends and sew on your poppy. So then we're taking our stem and we're just threading the stem through the tube. If you twist that as you go, you'll find that it goes through quite easily. And we're going blunt end first. And that's threaded, and we've got two long ends. Then we're just getting our needle, just an ordinary yarn needle with a decent sized eye, and we're threading on the pointy end of the stem. We're threading that onto the needle, and we're just going to take the thread through each of the stitches just to secure it, and then we're just going to finish that off so that it's nice and secure, and thread the yarn back up through the stem, pull it through, trim it off, and you've got a nice simple finish on your stem. So at the other end, what we're going to do is to attach this to the stem so it doesn't fall off. What we're using is silicone, and we are just pulling off the cap. I'm just pushing silicone down into the cap, and then I'm just pushing the end of my stem and pushing the I-cord up the stem, so you end up with it looking something like that. And then you leave those overnight to dry. They need a night to dry. And so this is the next day. You're just taking the end of this, and what you're doing is you're attaching your poppy to the stem. So we're just grabbing a poppy, making sure we get it into the centre, Be careful you don't poke your eyes out with the stem or anybody else's eyes out with the stem. And basically we're just threading that onto the poppy. Once again, we're going through all 4 stitches for starters. And pulling that up quite firmly, and then we're going around again and we're going in between the stitches, just attaching the poppy as we go. And pulling it up firmly after each stitch. Make sure it's nice and secure. 1 back stitch will do it, and then thread back down the stem again and trim off your end and neaten up your poppy. And there you end up with a really lovely little poppy on a stem, and that will be planted into the earth, so they don't need to be the full length. So I need to say thank you very much to our friends at Australian Country Spinners for the donation of the yarn to make our poppies, and also to Doncaster Mitre 10 for the silicone, and also to the Victorian Government, who have been wonderful in their sponsorship of us to take us to Chelsea Flower Show next year. And that's it.